La da di da di da 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 di da di da. Oh, la da di da di da. All right, righty roo, did da di da. All right, so it looks like we're all live. That's good. That's good. Let's see if the signal will hold out. My ISP said, keep in mind they said this, that it should be fine. They've detected no major issues. They've detected no major line breaks. They've received no other reports than mine. Yada, yada, yada. So they've encouraged me to keep going and attempting, and that whatever it is will probably work through itself. And I told them that if it doesn't, there are other ISPs. So, yeah. With any luck, we won't have none of the breaks, internet breakups that we did last time. God willing. But you know how these things are. They're not consistent, so we shall see. But if we do have a major issue throughout the stream, I will be messaging them very, very, very angrily. But again, fingers crossed, we don't even need to worry about that. So, anywho, welcome everybody to the stream. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So, today I wanted to burge another open mic topic, because last time we talked about some, you know, for some weird reason, is a major controversy and a major topic in the sphere of 40K. But to kind of bring back my channel to some level of sanity, I wanted to just bring up an open mic for anybody to bring forward what innovations, changes, additions, whatever you got, throw it on me, but things that you guys think 40K needs. And again, this could be anything from the community aspect, this can be from a content creation perspective, this can be from GW themselves, this could be from the model lines, anything at all. I would love to give you guys a platform to voice it, to converse about it. And yeah, so the link, like always, is in the description of this stream. If you want to join the call line server, just jump into the general waiting room. If there's no available VCs from waiting calls 1 through 3, I pull people in based on, are they in the waiting call 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to try and keep that as organized as possible. That way everyone can get in, can get a say, and can converse with what they want to do. Now, I got that little spiel out of the way. Welcome, biggest, hintest, blackest, Asian dickus. I'll just call you biggest. What's up, biggest? Hello, how are you? So, yep, that is the goal of the stream. Plus, it's also to test out, see if my signal actually has fixed itself, since these people have not been doing that. Let's see here. I also ought to share the stream. I mean, I've decided to take a break from the twatters, but I thought, I don't mind sharing the stream there. I mean, it's not that that's gonna add too much though. I don't think it'll do anything. So, nah, I'm not gonna waste time trying to advertise the stream over there. Twatters is twatters. And like I said, I'm taking my break from that nonsense. So, yeah, I guess for now, while I wait for calls to come in, what do I personally, since I'm the one burgeoning this topic on a stream, what do I want to see in 40K that is either a change, an innovation, an addition, what have you? I think, for me, I would personally like for a change, for there to be more consistency in the lore. As it is, I still stand by that I think there is a canon in Warhammer 40K lore, and the fact that there's any disagreement on that is insane to me. It tells me a lot of people don't understand what canon is, and it kind of scares me how one of the penultimate content creators in terms of 40K lore believes that there isn't a canon. I'm not bringing up who, but you all probably know who I'm talking about. I think there's a huge misunderstanding, or at the kindest, or a deliberate misinterpretation of what canon is in a given story. Because the thing is, 40K absolutely does have a canon. Let's make that perfectly clear. 40K does have a canon. It's a soft canon, but it's still a canon. To claim that it doesn't have one at all is insane. The chess has no canon. Like the board game chess, that has no canon. There's no story to it. That's why. But anything that has a story, anything that has legends, myths, anything that has a narrative has a canon. It has an element of it that is concrete, that is immovable, unchangeable, and that identifies it as its own unique story. If you alter that in any way, you therefore get a new story altogether. That's what occurs that's what the whole purpose of canon is. It's to maintain the identity of a setting, to maintain the identity of a universe, is to maintain the identity of a tale, of a myth, of a legend. So, yeah, while there may be thousands of interpretations of old Greek myths from back in the day, there's still the core story. Like if you tell the Odyssey, for example, from Odysseus or Ulysses, depending on Roman or Greek verbiage you go by there. But the core tale of that is always the same. You have to tell the tale of Ulysses / Odysseus. You have to tell about him leaving Troy after it was sacked, and the misfortune he and his crew went through, the troll that he blinded, etc., etc., etc. You have to go through those beats. Now, you may portray them uniquely and change a lot of the epidermal, like face value stuff in that story, and you can change it all you want, but if you change that core story, the canon, if you will, then you no longer have the tale of Ulysses. You no longer have the adventures of Odysseus. You no longer have this, because you've breached the canon, therefore you've created an entirely different story. So that's something I wanted to kind of clarify, because again, I constantly see this misconception within the 40k community that 40k has no lore. Well, like, they don't say that, but they say, well, it has no canon, which is the equivalent of saying it has no lore. Like, 40k has no canon, man. Like, there's no, like, nothing's set in stone. Like, come on. That's not true. It does. The canon in 40k is not the reason I say a soft canon, and why plenty of people will use the term soft canon when referring to 40k story, is because while there is a core foundation that, since it's been established, it has never been deviated from, and it has never been altered, and if anything, it has been reinforced through numerous books and novels and codexes, what's soft about it and what is malleable about the lore is not necessarily whether certain things exist in the universe or whether certain events happened. The question isn't if this happened, it's the question of did it happen this way. The question isn't does this species or Xenos species exist in 40k. The question is, well, there is some that is the question, but the core ones like orcs, Tyranids, and stuff like that, we don't question that they exist because they've been reinforced by not only the miniatures but the codexes and the lore and the novels themselves, which all conglomerately work together to formulate the canon. But yeah, we don't question that these things, that orcs, that Tyranids, that the Tau exist. We simply ask, do they always get portrayed or appear as we see them portrayed in the story, in the universe of 40k? Because one novel may portray them one way, another will portray them a different way. That's what's malleable. That's what's soft about the 40k canon. It's how things are shown and how things are interpreted. That's all. But again, Horus Heresy, that happened. That's canon, if you will. That is concrete. We know it happened. There's an entire backbone of the lore dedicated to that one massive event. Lore change all the time, mate. Yeah, exactly. It's a stupid thing that I've noticed for some reason I just simply cannot understand. It's a stupid thing that lots of people have kind of glued themselves to at times. And the thing is, this isn't like an SJW type thing. There are people that I would certainly call straight hobbyists that are hobby focused, that aren't like doing political bullshit. Welcome James Mack and Trip, Nathan and Briquet. I always fuck it up. Hello! The stick reflection cracked in a bin. To stick reflection cracked in a bin. Wait, what? But yeah, 40k lore, there is a canon. It's just a soft canon. Welcome, N-Train. Welcome. Guys, if you want in on, if you're not already there, the call line server, Discord server, there's a link in the description. I can copy it into the chat. I have to reopen my browser, but I can do that real quick. But yeah, to kind of, now that I got that spiel out of the way about, whether canon exists or not in 40K, which it 100% does. Again, you can't have a story, you can't have a fictional setting or universe without some level of a canon. 40K just has a soft canon. But, yeah, there's a core foundation, and it's the interpretations of things that is what is malleable. Now, let me real quick share the Discord link that is in the description. Come on, give me the link. Thank you. Much appreciated. I got a hiccup. Don't haunt me, hiccups. Please do not do this to me. Boom. Obi-Wan, welcome. Tomahawk and Overlord Inquisitor. Welcome, guys. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Overlord Inquisitor, did you ever get my DM on Discord? You never responded if you did. Just saying, like, could you? Yeah. So as, kind of bracing off of that onto my my change. For me, I would like a bit more consistency in the lore. Like, I would like them to definitively establish their canon a little bit better. Even though the canon is very clear to me, it's because I had to do that spiel I just did just now that I feel that they need to make it clearer. Because the thing is, a lot of people like to also glue themselves to, I can't remember what the author's name, but there was a Black Library author who made a statement that they often take out of context to make the argument that there is no canon, because he himself said he felt that there was no limiting canon or anything like that. Like it was an opinion piece. It wasn't like he was stating a fact. But yeah, a lot of people like glue themselves to that and say like, oh, see, like even one of the first of all, it's one Black Library writer, so out of like what 80 of them. So even if he did say it the way that they always try and display it to have been said, he's one of many, and I'm sure not all of them agree that there isn't this sense of canon. I'm sure all of them have their own headcanon. Certainly those that we regularly see writing stuff like ADB or James Swallow. Any of the regulars we constantly see coming back. Was it ADB? I can't remember which author it was. I just know that there was an author amongst the Black Library pantheon who made a public statement in like a tweet. So it's like well thought out in a full like spiel, right? But a Black Library writer said in their opinion there was no canon in 40K. But again, that's just simply not exactly what he meant, and a lot of people just take that out of context of the conversation he was in. Which was simply talking about, like the rules or the events and how they're interpreted. Again, it's an annoying thing that people latch onto, and I don't know why. But for me, I would like them to have some kind of, it doesn't necessarily need to be a codex, but like put out like on an FAQ on their website, just like a link to something that just basically gives like the overarching timeline. Like I do like how, loose some events are interpreted. But that way, there's stuff people can use for, like, homebrews and stuff, like the overarching timeline. But I do want them to have, like, definitively say, okay, this did happen, this is canon, like, these events are canon. What is loose canon is, like, how they're interpreted. Because a lot of people are getting fucked up by, content creators and other people saying that there is no canon when that's just a lie. And again, I don't think everybody who says that is malicious or like an NPC or an SJW or anything. I think a lot of people are misguided in what they think canon in a story is. And I want to work to correct this misunderstanding. But anyway, we got my first two callers, so I'm going to bring in Trip. Hold on here. Trip, welcome to the stream and to the open mic. How you doing?
Fine. Oh, better pause your or mute your video.
Alright.
Yep.
So... Alright, so what do you think 40k needs?
I thought I was gonna have some more time to think about it. I just saw. So sorry about that.
Alright. So do you just want me to clarify real quick, like, what I mean when I say change?
Yes, please do so.
Okay. So when I say changes, I mean anything from, and pretty much all across 40k. This can be a community change you would like to see, like maybe a mindset of people to have, or the way people approach the hobby in a certain aspect. This can be from GW themselves, whether it be copyright policy, whether it be their pricing. Like, this is as loose as you want it to be. Like, what, like, in your wildest, if you could have any power to control the universe right now, in terms of 40k, what would you like added, changed, solidified? It's pretty loosey-goosey about what you would like. What would you like the hobby of 40k to be affected to improve it?
Maybe them to just accept 3D printing. Just GW to just accept 3D printing is gonna be a thing.
Okay.
Maybe even try to cash in on that. Like, okay, maybe actually just sell it and like, okay, maybe just not bleed everyone dry. Except, okay, you know those specialty, really expensive models they have. Like, we're gonna have these expensive, you know, you know, they do make really good models. Okay,
Oh yeah.
those can be expensive, but it's like they can't just keep expecting people to literally open a vein just to buy 20 packs of miniatures just to make one arm.
Actually, I kind of want to throw this in with that idea of yours. I kind of got drunk the other night. Yes, I'm totally proud of this, of course. But I don't know, one of the thoughts I had while I was drinking my whiskey, it was a random thought, and it's kind of connected to what you just said, like with them accepting 3D printing and possibly profiting off of it. So you know how they produce paints and stuff, like they had the Citadel brand for paints. I would love
their overpriced thing that seems.
Yeah, it's overpriced as shit. And let's be honest, with this idea, this would be overpriced as well in reality if they were to do it. But I'm just saying, I kind of think it'd be funny, but at the same time, I think this is a genuine way they could profit with like 3D printing and stuff. They could sell their own Citadel brand resin. They would just need to either get the materials to make their own resin, not the same resin they use for Citadel Finecast, fuck that, but actual like SLA printer resin.
So
and upsell the shit out of
what
it.
What the 3D printer uses to print.
Yeah. There are two types of printers. I assume you're not fully into like 3D printers like me.
Entirely, yeah.
All right. So with so there are two types of printers. There's SLA, which is what I use mainly. That's resin printing, and that's when there's a build plate, it goes down, there's a translucent vat with a plastic under screen. It's called the FEP screen because it makes when it suction cups every single individual layer of the miniature or of whatever you're printing. Like it does it by layers over the course of numerous hours, and it shoots LCD UV ray lights up through that screen from a UV screen, and to kind of micro create and solidify layers of the resin as it builds the mini for you. That's my best way to try and summarize what an SLA printer is. So liquid resin is, I can't really call it a plastic, but it is a material that when you shoot it with basically UV lights, so the same thing the sun shoots down on us from the sky, it solidifies it. It hardens it and makes it basically like a plastic. It's like and depending on how you solidify it and whether it's like hollow or not, it can be like a rock in terms of its solidity. And they could manufacture their own resin, and they would upsell the shit out of it, of course, and there's better brands out there already, but that is one way for them to directly profit from it. They could also sell their own official 3D printed models from SLA printers instead of their current fine cast method of printing with resin, because Citadel fine cast is the same material I'm talking about, except what they do with the resin in that is poured into a mold, and it solidifies because the resin is pre-mixed with a hardening material or a hardening chemical, so it cures itself without UV light. So instead of building it layer by layer, it just solidifies inside a mold. But that also results in a lot of the problems we constantly see with Citadel Finecast models. Like, they constantly are bent, they're warped, they're broken, and that's because the way they solidified isn't how resin is best hardened and solidified. So that's why we still legendarily hate, as a community, Citadel Finecast. But yeah, they could produce their own resin, and the other type of printer that there is for 3D printing is called a filament printer. And that's one that basically it's the same mechanism of like a hot glue gun, but with a plastic spool. A spool of basically a plastic string, and it goes through a high heated nozzle that melts it, and then basically draws the product layer by layer on a build plate, and slowly constructs it from the top down. That would be filament printing. That is not a good, even the most fine-tipped, fine-point filament printers are unfortunately nowhere near as detailed as resin, because with resin it's like micro layers. Like, they're so thin that if you have a good enough printer, when it's done, you don't see any lines or layers or anything, especially after you start painting. Like, you have no idea that this was 3D printed or not, because there's just simply no mold lines, there's no construction lines. Of course, most cheaper 3D printers, you'll still see those even through the paint, but it's still hard to notice if you used your settings right. But with filament printing, even bigger objects, you see every construction line on a filament printer, because again, it's a melted pool. It's a melted layer of straight plastic. So that's why, when it comes to filament printing, just never use it for miniatures unless you absolutely don't care how the miniature looks.
Okay, but like I said, I'm just saying, they've got to realize at some point as I say, the opening your own veins just to get enough for an army is not entirely sustainable model.
Yeah, the thing is, right now they're profiting off the same thing as a lot of video games that come out, a lot of terrible video games too, that come out with cash shops. I call it the concept of the whale.
Yeah, I know. That's how, like, a lot of mobile games.
Yeah, one whale is worth
one person who
80 plus normal hobbyists.
Yeah, you know what's funny? Like, remember the whole Earth is located all the time. You're just being for not wanting to change it. Like, yeah, have you ever considered that it's probably the pricing that flows people in joining the games more so than anything else?
Oh no, I think they're fully aware that is the biggest reason why 40K hasn't gotten even bigger than it has. I think they're fully aware that the cost is just absurd. But the thing is, they get away with it. Again, like, if they weren't barely getting by, then they would lower prices.
Stream, I don't collect miniatures.
Yeah. And the thing is, there's a chunk of the community that doesn't. You buy books, and they profit off of the book sales. That's the thing. The GW, I have to compliment them from a capitalist perspective, because they're very smart. They don't limit themselves to one avenue of production. They don't just make miniatures and call it a day. They sell books, they sell codexes, they sell the rules, they do FAQs, they sell paints, paint pots, paint brushes.
There was this, remember everyone going like, oh, we need to go after the wider audience. Ironically, they actually did that a few years ago. It was called the Dawn of War games.
I don't know. The thing is, they've been going after the wider audience. I want to say since the '90s. Like they've been moving towards broadening their audience from the get-go. Yeah, it's just I think when people say that, they mean like they're trying to like internet-wise, they're trying to reach as many people as possible, which is a good idea for a company, but the way that they're doing it is how all companies have been doing it lately, especially companies that have made their profits off
politics, basically. Like
it's through they choose the avenue of politics rather than
or representation.
Yeah, rather than better advertisement, lowering cost of entry, like the rational way you would normally reach a wider audience.
Or making a video game instead of a tabletop.
Yeah. Welcome. I think I welcomed James Mackett, but I'll do it again just in case I didn't. Matthew Gordon.
Fair enough.
And Jim Jones. Okay. But yeah. So yeah, the change you would like to see is for them to accept 3D printing.
Yeah, or at least probably get the idea that price gouging is not going to help them in the long run. Truly.
Yeah.
Well, at least in that specific thing.
Okay. Well, I thank you for coming on. I got two other people waiting in.
Fair enough. Other people. Okay.
Yeah, but I think a lot of us would agree with you on that one, that we would like them to accept 3D printing and find ways for them to coexist with it. Otherwise, they're gonna just get run over. Because right now, there's no way they can stem the flow of people making STLs and stuff online as proxies. And a lot of the time, the proxies are different enough that there's no way they can go after them legally. Like, it's just Games Workshop they're going to be defeated by simply being too stagnant and not adapting with the times.
Maybe. Oh, one last thing.
Okay,
yeah, maybe
one last thing.
Probably take a lesson from when they try to attack online animators. It's like you just attacked your free advertising division.
Oh yeah, and the thing is, I think they rationalized it with Warhammer Plus. It's like, okay, we're gonna give each of these guys a devil's deal. It's like, you either come on the payroll with us and make our shit like you already are for technically free, under our shitty paycheck, whatever contract we offer you, which they probably use the leverage of them already quote unquote breaching their copyright. You know there was some shady shit going on there, especially with how many animators they were knocking off, like fucking.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got two other people waiting, man. So thank you for being the first to hop in, though. Much appreciated.
Okay.
All right, Ice. Welcome, Ice. How are you? Hello. Hello. Aishin, are you on Android? Yeah, if you're on Android, just want to let you know, there's a glitch for some reason. If you're on Android mobile and you get pulled from one call into another, for some reason your mic doesn't work. So if you're on Android and that's the case, that may be the problem. Does look like you're on mobile. I'll temporarily give you the host role. And just hang up and rejoin this call line. I'll temporarily give you the host role. I'll remove it from you after our call. But yeah, just hang up and rejoin the call, and that should do it. right?
Now it works.
Yep, I can hear you. Yep, you're on Android, aren't you?
Yeah, it's a mobile phone because Consolero missed.
Yeah. Well, welcome to the open mic. Do you need clarification on the topic as well, like Trip did, or?
I'm here since the beginning, so I got your first few lines. So yeah,
All right,
I'm
good.
kind of in it.
Okay. So yeah.
And simply one change I'm pretty sure everybody would agree with is the pricing for firstly, because look at prices for a Stormraven gunship, for example. That thing got 50% more expensive over 8 years or something.
I don't know exactly the evolution of that one's cost, but I do like with the general evolution of a lot of their stuff's cost, it has increased despite the fact that their cost of production has gone down. Though,
and the sculpts don't got any new stuff. That's the worst part. No increased cost anywhere.
Alright, so just clarify. So your thing is you would like costs to go down.
That would be the thing for everybody, I would say.
Yeah,
it would attract more people.
Yeah, it kind of hits back to what Trip kind of brought up as well. Although his first point was like 3D printing, but yeah, it comes from like the same base. Like you guys, and I would agree with it. Want for the prices to go down, and that way not only newer people don't have such a barrier to entry. Like as it is, they're removing start collecting boxes, which I think is a huge mistake because start collecting boxes were already kind of a hard sell at $90, but they were pretty solid as starters, and yeah, they weren't whole patrols, but it's easier to convince a friend you're trying to get into this shit to be like, hey, you see this? You see, I get it. It's $90. Don't freak out. And they get those like wide fucking pupils as they see like the zeros. It's like I get it. $90, but this is a good start. I'll chip in $30. You only have to pay like the equivalent of a $60 video game. Boom. Well, I got paints at home. It's already hard to get people to grab that $90. But now that they're removing those entirely from the line of sales and replacing them with combat patrols, which are $140, $145 depending on where you go. Because it's $145 at my local hobby store, but they do a 10% off Sunday thing. It's weird. But, $145 USD, which I have no idea what that is in euros, and I don't want to know what that is in Australian dollars. It's roughly the same? Okay, good.
I think. Is just the same at the moment.
Yeah, I know the only people who get, like... Because I've done the conversions with a couple of my British friends on our server. But apparently, if you live in the UK, you do actually pay less for your minis, which is, I guess, understandable since that's their home country. But yeah, like we did the conversions in like a $35 HQ here in the US. If you do the conversion from pounds per sterling, they get for like 25 pounds, or sorry, $25 worth of pounds. So I'm like, y'all are getting fucking $10 off here, $50 off here. Like, what the fuck? It's like, oh, we're British.
Yeah.
So fucking okay. The rest of us get to suck dick. Got it. Fuck you, GW.
Yeah, that's it. And on the matter of prices, I don't get why they shot themselves in the foot with the new way they coded these, because this whole box conformity, it's so annoying. Image, you sit here, have already 3 squads of Skitari, all with 3 times the same weapon because they could have them. And now everything in the box once. You're gonna be shitting me? I traded the parts for the other parts. What's wrong with you? Hilarious.
Yeah,
Always such
it does
funny.
get comedic. But yeah, I'd say there's not a single person who would disagree. That is probably going to be like the big thing with a lot of people, not just in tonight, but like generally. Like the one thing people wish every day is for GW to just lower the prices. Not only would that help the community grow in my opinion, a better way than they're trying to grow it right now, which is appeal to political ideology, which thankfully they've hit the brakes on a little bit since their last kind of like the last major thing I could think of off the top of my head were in terms of like appeasing a certain ideology is they overreacted with the dude in Spain.
Yeah.
Like that was listen, the guy was a troll. Let's be honest. He probably didn't believe in fascist ideology. He went there, fucked with people, and nearly won the tournament simply because a lot of people refused to play him. He almost won because nobody wanted to play him. That was his plan. Like, he was trolling, and everybody went way overboard.
Sun Tzu.
It was a ridiculous situation. So, but yeah, the fact that GW made a statement about that is just, it's icing on the cake for the comedic element, but it's just sad. It's like, really? It's one hobbyist who fucked with people. That's it. Jesus. But yeah,
Welcome in the 2020s.
it's we live in clown world. We live in clown world. But yeah, I totally agree with you on the prices stuff, and yeah, I'm still unhappy that they took away Star Collecting box. Like, I don't know why they couldn't have produced Star Collecting boxes and Combat Patrols. I guess because they used the same molds and they wanted to focus on it on the assembly line or something. I don't know, but I think they should have kept them both. Like, they're 2 starting points depending on your price range, which both are still hard sells. But yeah, I got a couple other people waiting. Is there anything else you want to bring up real quick, or?
Yeah, that's one thing that's kind of controversial.
Alright.
And the breaking point in the hobby. I would like it if we had more fanboys in the company itself again. Like the evil wizard of all times, Matt Ward, who was a fanboy and you could read it in whatever has done. He was fanning about his faction, and yeah, we need more of that kind of.
Yeah, I wish we had more. I guess another way to phrase that, other than just fanboy, which fanboy is a valid way to phrase it, but I guess another way is community ambassadors, so to speak, as employees, maybe even higher ups, especially because thing is, a lot of the writers, especially for like the Horse Heresy series, I got the impression from not only from their writings but some of the stuff that they've said in the past that at least some of them were fans of the universe, fans of the hobby itself. Some even collected miniatures, as far as I know. But those same writers over time, it definitely, some of their writings definitely comes off like they've changed what their like priority and what they enjoy most out of their work. It seems like it's less and less about the hobby and more about other stuff, probably paycheck. But as for like the actual production of miniatures, the actual production of like Warhammer Plus, for example, like I don't think anybody in the Warhammer Plus stuff that I've been shared looks like they want to be there. Like, they're being paid a paycheck to do, like a painting video. They're being paid a paycheck to do this lore video. They're being paid a paycheck to do this battle report. They're not really coming off like genuine hobbyists just having fun, and they also happen to work for GW. So I do think if we had more ambassadors, so to speak, from the community working there, we would see a lot of improvement. And maybe the hardest thing that we're ever going to fight for in this entire hobby, the prices to go down.
Yeah,
but
that's gonna be the hardest fight.
Oh yeah, that's
because prices will rise. That's as certain as death is.
Oh yeah. But thank you for coming on, man. Thank you for sharing your perspective and what you want changed. I appreciate it.
Always. A pleasure was all mine.
Thank you. All right, have a good night.
Same to you. Thanks.
Alright, so I'm going to pull in the next person. That'd be Fan Guy. Fan Guy, welcome to the stream. How you doing?
Hey, can you hear me?
I can indeed hear you. 1 second, real quick. I gotta lower your volume a little bit. And Diego Flores in the chat said, I brought my Horus Heresy box from the UK. Lucky bastard. Wait, did you use their website? If you use their website, and you live in the US and you had it shipped, it probably still costs the same as it would in the US if you bought it from like a shop. But yeah, how you doing, Fan Guy?
I'm doing alright. I'm actually fairly new to the whole Warhammer 40k fandom, so so just a brief disclaimer so that my perspective is like just I don't know. Anyway, so basically, if I could do anything with the Warhammer 40k universe, as you were saying earlier,
Are you nervous?
Probably a little bit, yes.
Yeah,
This is the first time I've done anything like this.
It's okay. It's okay. Take a breather. You know, no pressure.
Okay. Well, I guess the price is one of the main barriers of entry for people who are trying to get into the fandom, like we've been talking about earlier. But another thing, I think, is the fact that there's literally no one you can root for at all. There's no like good guy, like even on an individual basis, that you can really root for, like at all. Like in terms of lore wise, I've like it's just, like and that can make and there's no like hope at all. I mean, technically there is hope, but it's ruled by an evil god. So
Right.
But yeah, and just like that's
So
one of the main barriers of entry is the fact that
it's
difficult to get into the universe's lore if there's like no heroes or whatever.
Alright, so let me just clarify something off of that from you.
Huh?
So are you saying you want there to be like a good guy, like an official?
It's not necessarily. Well, I'd like at the very least on an individual basis people who have good. I mean.
Okay, again,
it's difficult for me to get into this. Lore. I've always been more of a lore guy for like, just for the stories I enjoy.
Right.
So the fact that there is no like anyone that everybody sucks is, in my mind, a big barrier of entry for people who want to enjoy the lore, because it's just like, okay, so why should I get emotionally invested in it if it's like everything's completely screwed?
Well, that's
I mean?
kind of the charm of 40k, is that the universe is in this fleeting state of detriment. It's a grimdark. The charm of old school, especially the 80s, if you look back on it, because, you know, a lot of products that came out of the 80s, especially Britain for some weird reason, were a lot of grimdarks. Like Judge Dredd is a grimdark. So is 40k, so is technically Dune. Dune is in some ways a kind of a grimdark, although I guess more seasoned Dune readers and fans might disagree with me. But from what I've read of it, it's a grimdark in its own right. The thing with grimdarks that you gotta understand about how that's an intentional barrier of entry, I guess is the best way I would put it. Because that is the universe, that is the style. It's hard, yes, for newer people to get into if they're used to stories that are positive, that have a hopeful ending, that have a light at the end of the tunnel. But that's not what a grimdark is supposed to be. If we changed that in 40k, you would fundamentally change the identity of the hobby, of the universe, and of what we all, or what most of us, for sure, got into the hobby for. It's supposed to be so dark, it's paradoxical. It's almost a parody of itself by the end, because it goes so over the top that it's just crazy. The best part about 40k in terms of your investment into it is it's not even really a matter of like who do you find, who amongst them is the least evil. It's which flavor of evil do you think is the coolest? Because I think Bricky, if you've seen his videos on it, put it best in this sense. Although I have some gripes with Bricky's stuff, but I'm not here to shit on other people, other content creators specifically. But the one thing I really liked from one of his videos is the charm of 40K is that everybody sucks. Everybody is some flavor of evil. And because of that, and this is where I'm going to deviate from what he said specifically, it's more what I'm deriving from what he said. But with these flavors of evil, you don't have to worry about the moral gray. You don't have to worry about the moral goods as much. You do when it comes to like the books. And the thing is, what you're looking for, it sounds like, have you read the Horus Heresy?
I've read. I literally just got the book, so like, I haven't read it word for word, but just the one. I guess the first one I got available that I was able to find. So
the Horus Rising.
Something like that. I just ordered it online, so I haven't gotten physically yet.
All right. One thing I would say is you will find what it sounds like you're looking for in the individual novels.
Okay.
The individual novels have a protagonist in them, oftentimes, and they are shown in the light of, yes, again, the universe is dark, it's grim, but the individual stories within the novels all have a protagonist who is out to do good things oftentimes, and by the end of the book, they either achieve that good thing, and in some of them, they do fall from grace, but there's always a flow with like that morality within the storytelling of Horus Heresy. But okay. I would say in most of the novels it does have that establishment of a protagonist in it. Like the best example I can think of and the best novel in the entirety of the Horus Heresy series, in my opinion, is The Flight of the Eisenstein. And that follows an Astartes, a former Astartes of the Death Guard, who remains loyal even after the betrayal in Isfahan 3. He takes his ship, the Eisenstein, escapes the Isfahan system and attempts to reach Terra to warn the Emperor of Horus's betrayal. I won't give you much more of a through line than that, because I really want to encourage you to read through Horus Rising, because that establishes Horus's fall, and then the subsequent books. Eisenstein, I believe, is the third book in the series of... Yes, because I'm pretty sure the second one is Fulgrim. I could be wrong. But yeah, Flight of the Eisenstein is one of the first few books. When you get to it, it's probably the best one in the series. They're all very, very good. They're all very well written. But that one's definitely got the structure of storytelling that you're looking for. Because Nathaniel Garrow is 100% a protagonist in it. He has moral qualms. He questions himself. There's a lot of self-introspection. There's action. There's drama. But by the end, he is a hero in his own right. And again, I highly encourage you to read it. And you will get that throughout the lore of 40K. But if we're looking at the lore in broad strokes with your concern that it's, again, it's too dark for someone new, I would simply say to that, in terms of that broad stroke, that's the point. The 40K, like that is where you call it a barrier to entry. I would simply say it's an intentional barrier. It's kind of like going to an ice cream shop and saying, well, they sell ice cream, so that's a barrier to entry.
Okay.
Because oh, jeez.
Oh, sorry. I didn't talk over you.
New donation. Thank you, Ball, for the super chat, brother. Spoiler alert. I don't think that was a spoiler. I tried to keep it as broad as possible with Fly the Eisenstein. There's a lot of things I didn't go over in that book. So again, read it. It's the best book in the whole fucking series.
I see your point. And okay, I guess because I'm so new, I still kind of need to get into it a bit more. But anyway, yeah, I'll definitely be reading it soon. Also, before we finish here, I guess I don't know if you heard of the RPG being made by Owlcat Games for Warhammer 40K. Have you?
I heard.
Alpha Games are the ones who made the Pathfinder games. I don't know if you heard of those.
Well,
The
okay. So just to
RPGs.
clarify, that we're talking
Like,
pen.
I remember-
We're talking
like-
pen and paper. We're not talking video game, right?
No, it actually, like, I remember there was, like, some guy in an earlier call said that we kind of need a video game. Owlcat Games, the guys who made the Pathfinder games, are building a CRPG for the Warhammer 40k universe based off the Rogue Traders.
Okay, so I didn't know about that, but now I do.
Yeah, just check it out. It looks pretty good, and I've played their Pathfinder games, and they're long, but they're really good.
I mean, that's kind of that's one thing. Sorry, I'm about to go boomer moment on you real quick, but boomer rant. I miss when our RPGs were a long thing. Like, this is weird. I think it comes with like the evolution of video games, of course, and open world stuff. But
Yeah.
I miss when like back in the 80s, and I didn't even exist in the 80s, but I grew up in an 80s household playing Dungeons and Dragons with my family and playing old school pen and paper stuff like that. I miss when RPGs were meant to be like this really long thing. Like you were expected to sit down for like 8 hours straight and only make it like a small percentage into the story that you're playing through. Like I miss that. I miss that idea. Now RPGs almost feel like they're trying to rush you to a certain conclusion, which is strange to me.
But yeah, I know what you mean. I'm just saying that some people might not like the length because, nowadays, but I enjoyed that there was so much to do in it. That's part of the reasons why I love their Pathfinder games, because they were so long and there were so many individual choices as well. It was just like, it was really good. Do you want me to like send you a link to like their announcement?
Yeah, feel free to share it in the. I guess this is topic related. Feel free to share it in topic related. Here in the call line server, and I'll give it a check out later. Thank you.
Great. All right, thank you. I was glad to be able to have this talk, I guess. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Have a good night.
Bye.
All right. I think N-Train was waiting the longest. N-Train, welcome to the open mic. How you doing?
Hang on. Let me. There we go. I just muted the video. Okay. Hello again.
Hello again. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Good.
So, okay. So, what could I change in like? So we're talking about like in general 40k thing, why like GW and all that stuff again.
This is kind of like the idea of like whatever you think would be an innovation or an improvement, and this is from any angle, whether we're talking the community, the miniatures, the tabletop game, the lore, GW themselves, pricing, anything.
Okay. The one thing I would say, and it's kind of from like book style kind of thing, is in my opinion, it's kind of like the Fall Acadia one. I just felt like, okay, Fall Acadia, a very important place in the lore of 40k. It survived 13 Black Crusade, and all we get for it is it seems like one book, and at the end of it, Acadia falls. I just feel like that thing should have been like, my opinion, like 5 books. It should be like this long story of it. And that's why I kind of feel like the recent information I get about the book coming out, they're just rushing the story because they haven't pushed the story for a while.
Right. I would actually agree with that. I do think that and that kind of reflects to what I said a little bit earlier with how the authors have changed a bit. And how Black Library has kind of changed their approach. If you look at like the very beginning of the Horus Heresy book series, which started in 2006 for those, I believe it was 2006 or 2005. But if you look at how the books were released, how much of a story each of them covered, I mean, like the first 3 or 4 books covered basically the same event. Like the first book, Horus Rising, covered Horus's Fall, obviously, but like the subsequent few books all were still surrounding the events at the betrayal of Isman III. But they took their time with each of these stories and their perspectives, and we were getting like little inklings forward in the story. And what's changed in the almost. It's been well over a decade. We're almost 20 years. I don't know. We're only 4 or 3 years short of. So it's like 16 years since the Horus Heresy and the Black Library really hit the ground running with the Horus Heresy series. What's changed a lot from then to now is, the pacing of not only the individual books themselves, like within their contained story, with how they kind of feel like they're pushing through stuff really fast, but also the overall series. Like you just said, Cadia, which is a significant event. I would put it on par with the Siege of Terra, which is a whole series of books itself. And it gets one book? Yeah, like I absolutely agree with you.
Like one book, and it's not even like it doesn't even close out. It like I remember Art talking about it, and they basically have Abaddon did a reload save file pretty much and go like, no, the 13th Black Crusade, no, that isn't over yet. I still have more forces. Then somehow poured out of his ass that there was these multi pylons on these random world that we have no build up for, and now I'm able to just expand the Terra now. Like, what the fuck, GW?
Yeah, it's and I would.
Oh, sorry for swearing.
No, that's fine. As long as you just don't go like gamer word territories.
Yeah, sorry.
But yeah, fuck, shit, bull crap. That's fine. I don't care. Just no gamer words.
Got it.
But I would say my best explanation for why this has changed in terms of the pacing of the overarching writing is because when we look at like the beginning of the Horus Heresy series, their idea was they're telling the legacy story, they're telling the backstory, they're telling the backbone of the lore. I think, and they already had the miniatures in the tabletop game, so that those stories and that lore was all about stuff that they already had. They were just kind of increasing interest in it with the novels and giving backdrop to it that that way people could feel more connected with the games that they were playing, kind of get more of an aesthetic, a theme, or a feel for the 40K games. And I think what's changed is now books are being written reactionary wise. Like they're like the Fall of Cadia. It's like, we got to drum up interest real quick, and we have to have something significant happen in the lore to drum up interest. So instead of just starting another series over the course of many books of a significant event like the Siege of Terra, they instead feel like, okay, we gotta snap it out like this real quick thing, but it's got to still be big. So they do the Fall of Cadia. And we see that also with the book Godblight, like Gilliman, the Emperor, and the Emperor possessing Gilliman and fighting fucking Mortarion, and partially, like again, like the way the novels are being written now, they're being written as one-off significant events. Like they got to be these snap things to catch people's interest and also hold their attention span. Which is, again, this is basically the novel equivalent of TikTok little whatever they're called, shorts. Yeah, TikTok shorts.
Yeah.
This is the novel equivalent. Yeah, it's still a book that's a couple hundred pages long, but they're trying to condense what is best meant for multiple books over multiple installments, giving intricate detail to all of the ever overarching events, the encumbering climax, the fall, the destruction, the aftermath. Instead of doing all that over the course of books like they have with the Horus Heresy series and the Siege of Terra series, they feel they need to drum up interest immediately. So they need a book written, they needed a single book, and they need to sell it now. So they do, again, the novel equivalent of making a TikTok. Here's a short, here's what's going, here's this big dramatic event, buy our shit. And that's an unfortunate, I guess you would call it, de-evolution of the 40K writing. And it is sad, and I do agree with you that I missed their... Because the thing is, it would be better for them for sales-wise as well, because like they would sell more books if they split it up into multiple books.
Yeah, I agree, because like a good example, I got the book here, is like Cyphers Kane, like the Tires book series about him. Like, yeah, like you got this, because I have basically the book, you have the 3 books together. I think, and like just following the story itself is Kane. It's just a really good book story. And I'm just going through it. It's like, oh, what happened next? And just keep building up the story there. Like, it should have been the same thing with the Falcadia. It should basically be like, oh, like one book, it's like we're getting rumbles from a Lord Inquisitor getting new that there might be rumbling, like a 14th Black Crusade coming, and this one doesn't seem right, like, oh, it's something like that kind of thing. But no, we just need to, like, don't build it up, nothing interesting about it. We just need to rush it. Like I said, TikTok, we need to, like, rush it right now.
Yeah. And it's a sad de-evolution of writing. And with my own writing for Warglaive Gothic, I have the first, the first series of my books for Warglaive is called The Sovereignty Rises. And the Sovereignty Rises series, each book is kind of the similar idea to how the Horus Heresy works. Each book is establishing the backbone canon of the lore, and it's all happening over the course of leading up to a significant event that's going to be the I guess the climax and ending of the Sovereignty Rises series is going to be leading up to a significant event, which from there branches into several other series that I'll also be doing. And I've already got the first several books planned out, and the first one is very character driven, but I won't spend too much time advertising my own stuff, especially since it's not ready to advertise yet. But I do miss, and I want myself to harken back to those times where people took time to write and create a story, a setting, establish a world, a universe, and don't rush it. This is not something that you should rush. It shouldn't be treated like a fucking TikTok. This is going to serve to be a lot of people's references, and it's also going to it's going to be a source of theory craft. It's going to be a source of love for the hobby. It wouldn't. I don't want to like go so grandiose as say, but in a small way, each book of a universe in fiction and in a story you tell is kind of like its own mini Bible. Especially if someone really loves the universe, really loves the characters, and really loves the setting, it'll feel like its own little Bible. People will go back to it, they'll reference certain pages, fans will debate each other on like, okay, here's what happened in this event, and here's what happened in this other event, and these both establish this thing, and this leads to this theory about what's coming next. There's this interconnected way that hobbyists like to debate and discuss lore, and we see it with 40k lore in particular. That's why there's Untitled channels dedicated to reiterating events and trying to explain them to a layman who hasn't gotten to that particular book, or maybe missed the conglomerate details between different books. The reason put so much effort into it is because of the investment you create with creating this story, creating this canon, and further establishing the setting. And you can't rush this. This is not a process that you should be spitting out books left and right, and each one being this self-contained mess that should be better explained through the course of many different books. And it's this weird mentality change in the writing process from just as little, and it is as little in the grand scheme of the world, and especially writing, as little as only 16, 17 years ago, to now. The mindset of the writing team at Black Library has absolutely taken a fucking nosedive. They went from being a team that slowly were building and crafting to now they're throwing it together as ramshackled as they can and throwing it out. Because it's not about building anymore, it's about this needs to be thrown out, needs to be making money now, move it. And it's very frustrating. So yeah, I totally agree with you. I wish they would, and I hope they will soon, go back to the mindset of crafting and building intricate stories.
Yeah. Another thing I like to mention, well, is like earlier I mentioned the miniatures kind of thing, how the prices kind of thing, because that was actually one of the turns out for me was like, oh, that's a lot of money for miniatures. And the thing is, like, I was getting into another universe called BattleTech. I wonder if you've ever heard of it.
I've heard of it. I can't get into it, but
Okay.
I know of it.
Yeah, and
I got other people waiting, man. So
okay, I'll go as well. Okay. I'll just head off then, 'cause it's just like a minor thing, and I'll just head off.
no,
Okay.
I appreciate it though, man. I do appreciate it, and
Okay.
you made a very good point. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, bye.
Bye bye. All right. So, oh crap, who was waiting the longest? I think Riddick was there before Afiel and Diego. So I'll pull in Riddick first. Yeah, if Diego, if you were waiting longer, I apologize, man. I think Riddick was there before you. But I think you're up next. Riddick, what's up?
Hello, hello. Thanks for having me. How are you
Alright.
doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm fine. Bit late, bit tired, but
Fair enough.
still
yeah.
up for the talk.
Awesome.
So I want to talk a bit of lore today.
Okay.
Because you mentioned something interesting at the start of the video. Because I have to say, most of my lore knowledge is purely from lore channels. I haven't read any books so far, but I'm planning to do it still.
Awesome. I highly encourage it.
Yeah, and you mentioned that you want that it's like more hard canon. Have I understand that correct?
I want. It's not that I want more hard canon. I like the soft canon 40k has. What I want is for GW to solidify that there is a canon, because there's again this, in my opinion, drastic misconception in the fan base, and certain content creators have unfortunately spread this misconception and have arrogantly spread this misconception as fact, based on misinterpreted tweets and intentional. Again, a lot of arrogance, and it frustrates me.
No.
But there's been this misconception being spread around that there is no canon in 40k. That is not possible. You cannot have a story or a setting without a level of canon. There has to be something, some baseline foundation that establishes this thing as this thing. You cannot have story or lore without a canon. So I find it absolutely insane and intellectually dishonest for people to claim, not only claim it, but push it aggressively, that there is no canon in 40k. That's just flat out wrong. Don't ever listen to anybody who says that. It's a lie. It's just a straight up lie. But I want 40k as a soft canon. We don't question things like orcs, Tyranids, or the Horus Heresy or the Siege of Terra occurred. These things are what we call canon. They are definitive. Once they were established, they have been maintained and reinforced as having existed and happened. What is soft lore and what is malleable about the lore of 40k is the interpretations of these things. We don't question that they existed. We don't question that they happened. We simply question, is how they were portrayed correct? Or is there another angle to it? That's that angle that people constantly latch onto to say that there's no canon. That's not true. We don't we don't question that it happened.
Yeah. Well, then I got it right. Then I understood it right.
Yeah.
Well, because for example, the golden age of technology, we don't know what happened exactly, but
we know it happened.
happened.
We know it. We know it was a time period. It's been canonized.
Yeah. So what I would to change to the question is, I probably don't make many friends when I say that here, but I would kind of interesting if they would add some additional factions, not necessarily in the game itself, but maybe flesh out in the lore a bit more, because I know there are other alien factions that exist outside of the ones you can play on tabletop.
I recommend you read Horus Rising. There is a xenospecies that Horus tries to parlay with in. I won't. That's a spoiler. I admit that is a straight spoiler, but I won't tell you more than that. But I read it. there
Yeah.
is actually there's 2 xenospecies, just only one of them. Again, I'm
Yeah.
trying not to give you too much detail, but in the novels and in the books and in the lore, there is actually xenospecies and that are never explored on the tabletop, but are explored in lore. And in fact, I want to say like the whole Horus Heresy, like first chunk of books, all introduce at least 1 or 2 species that we never see on the tabletop. But there's some branching out in that regard in terms of the lore. It's just you'll rarely, if ever, hear a lore tuber cover it because they're very minor in terms of the grand scheme of the lore. They're very minor events and set and characters and species.
Or for example, also other like non-imperial human factions. I know there are some in the 30k lore, but as far as I'm aware of, there are none in the 40k lore, and that I would find very interesting because you could even make Grim Dark. I'm not saying they are like the golden age of technology survivors or something, but for example, like they are like they still have technology. They aren't like the religious imperials, but instead they are ruled by corrupt mega corporations or something. You could also there add a flavor of evil.
Yeah, they could, and they have room to do that in particular because of Renegade human factions. Oftentimes they're villains in terms of stories. I mean, technically, if you want to, considering I guess it's canon now since GW picked it up, but Astartes, the animated short film, essentially, that had like the main antagonist of that, seemingly anyway, was a renegade human group. Like they clearly weren't chaos. At least to me, it was clear they weren't chaos corrupted, but they were renegades.
Yeah, no, but what I mean is like not just some small group of renegades. I mean more like an independent small empire, like a few planets or something like that.
So like Krieg, if they didn't blow themselves up,
for example.
I mean, that's certainly possible. I would be curious to see them do that, but I would only want that if they, like we were talking in the previous call, if they were going to do the slow burn approach like they should have been with like making multiple books, like make a series out of it, like the Horus Heresy series or the Siege of Terra series. Not only would they profit more off of more book sales because there'd be more books to sell, but it would also better establish the idea. But unfortunately, like I said, right now with their current writing style, it's reactionary. It's all about we need this thrown out there right now to drum up interest.
I'm fully aware of that. There is especially when you want to establish like a new quote unquote faction, there's always a high risk that they fuck it up.
Oh yeah. And as it is, the squats aren't being super well received. I don't hate them like some folks do. I think the aesthetic
I saw it only in a video, but I found it cool that they bring them back. I always thought, well, if you have space elves, why not also have space dwarves?
I like the thing is, I think a lot of people who have a problem with it miss the old squats.
Okay.
Like the old aesthetic and the old way that they looked, but it's been a very...
Have they changed them? Have they changed them completely?
Oh yeah, they've drastically changed them. Like, squats back in the day did not look anything like these ones do. Like, the difference is night and fucking day. Hold on, let me see if I can get a good reference image I can share with you.
Have they also changed them lore-wise, or just from the aesthetic?
Yes, they've changed them lore-wise.
Okay.
Because before, this is as far as my understanding, but squats in terms of the 40k lore were not called the Leagues of Votan. They weren't separate from the Imperium. They were pretty much part of the Imperium. They were kind of like Ogrins in that sense. They were just another deviation from them. Squats then versus now. Okay, so let me see here. Okay, so let me share it a minute. Fuck you. I hate it when like images on Google are like, "Hey, we're a WPM file." That's not a JPEG or a PNG, which is an actual image file. Fuck you. Okay, so let me just grab the new squats look like. What? That's also a WPM. Fuck you, Google. Give me actual images, please. You bitch. Sorry, I find it frustrating when Google's like, "Hey, here's an image." It's another. Are any of these actual JPEGs? Thank you. Finally, a JPEG. Okay, so yeah, we'll grab that, and we'll grab these guys. Yes, finally. All right. All right. So I will share in topic related. So
Okay.
the first image, obviously, as you know, is the new squats. This is what they used to look like.
Yeah, that's a bit different.
A bit. They actually were dwarves. They were stunties. They were shorties. That's how they used to be in the lore and in the hobby. They were also part of the Imperium. Like, they weren't separate. Ball says squats was more like the Mechanicum of Mars. They were allied with the Imperium, and they was leagues. Leagues?
But now they are a completely separate faction.
According to everything I've heard and seen, yes, they are completely separate from the Imperium.
Okay,
So,
interesting.
I hope they have an explanation for that, but they may very well not.
Well, if I had to guess, as far as I'm aware, the old squads disappeared like thousands of years ago in the lore.
The longest running explanation for why they were no longer on the tabletop or in the hobby was they were eaten by Tyranids.
Yeah.
Like, their world was attacked, and the Tyranids completely swamped it. I have no idea what they're going to do to explain that.
Maybe those who recently show up have kind of survived and developed their own thing over the thousands of years. But that's just me spitballing right now.
Possibly. There are ways I can see them doing it that are good, and I'm not against the squats as much as some folks are right now against the new squats. The major problem, and this is just simply because we don't have the lore yet for them. We don't have a codex. We don't have any information on why the squats disappeared. What happened to them? Did they fight off the Tyranids, or were they not actually invaded by the Tyranids? Well, we need that explanation. Lore aside, because we can't even really debate that yet because we don't know.
Yeah.
The major debate on squats comes from the aesthetic. They used to actually look like dwarves. Like actual dwarves. Now they look.
They still have like the statue of dwarves, right? Well, even the new ones, they seem to look like dwarf-like from the statue, at least.
All I know is that the bases that a lot of them have been shown on are 30. They look like 32mm bases, so it looks like each of them actually are bigger than Imperial Guardsmen.
Okay, that wouldn't make sense.
Exactly.
In terms of dwarves. Yeah.
So I could
Maybe
be wrong.
open dwarves.
that could be a very small base, and I'm just overestimating how big it is until we see a side by side with something bigger. I would like to see them scaled next to a guardsman, but it looks like they're on 32 mils, and if they're on 32 mils, they look much closer to a Space Marine size than they do a guardsman or a normal person size. But yeah, to kind of circle back on topic. So where were we?
Well, that would be pretty much from the lore perspective. From me, I had just the last thing that I would want, and that would be a Warhammer 40k MMO. That would be my dream. Because I think, if done right, and that's a big if, I'm fully aware of this, could be one of the best MMOs who ever existed. Because it's...
Just so I know what you're thinking when you say MMO, are you thinking more like Destiny style MMO, or are you thinking like World of Warcraft MMO?
Maybe more a bit World of Warcraft, but it doesn't have to be exactly like that.
No, of course not. But again, like the general skeletal vein, you're thinking.
Yeah, it could also be action combat or But just the idea of like an open world or open universe exploration with other players would be very interesting.
It would be.
Thing for
There's a lot of
If done
challenges
correctly.
with it. There's a lot of challenges with it because 40K is a very big universe. It's very big in scale.
You couldn't probably do everything, but maybe just a few planets at the start, or I don't know. But just as a thought, I think I would love that if they would do it right.
I would like it if they would do it right, but that's the big if.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the most promising game that I see now is like the Dark Tide. I think that looks pretty promising, but
I like the look of it. I got some people in my community who are already writing it off as shit, so...
yeah.
I don't know. Like, I'm looking forward to it. It looks like it'll be... at the very least, I expect it to be a fun game to play. May not be the most lore accurate, but I didn't really expect that these days from the video games to be too on point with that.
I think it will be like kind of a version of the fantasy version, the Vermintide. Basically a 40k version of Vermintide.
That's what it should be.
More or less what I'm expecting.
Yeah. That's what it should be at the end of the day. But thank you for coming on. Thank you for giving me your perspective. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. Have a good night.
You too. Bye.
Diego, how you doing? He has himself muted and deafened. He can't hear me. Hope he didn't stand up. Go take a dump. That would be poor timing. An issue, it seems. I'll read chat till he unmutes himself and unmutes me. How dare my dwarf be normal sized? An issue, it seems, is after they got rid of squats, is they gave all the cool stuff to other factions, like land trains to the Mechanicus, and graviton guns to Marines. They don't have their own thing. Yeah, I think they're trying to give them their own thing by giving them what looks like old world tech, but don't really know that for sure. Again, I'm interested to hear the lore stuff about them. Looks like Diego unmuted and undeafened. So, can you hear me, man?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. You sound great. How are you?
Perfect. Fine. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good. It's been an interesting Tuesday.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Well, going directly to the point, I feel that GW has like two aspects to touch upon for the hobby in general.
Okay.
One is, as you mentioned before, the 3D aspect. Okay. And I'm not necessarily talking about cost alone, but the fact that, for example, certain tournaments, they have forbidden 3D bits, right? Even though GW doesn't produce any more certain kits, or they never produce certain bits that people want for the aesthetics of their army.
I will interject a little bit here, unless the rules have changed since I last checked them, which I checked them about 4 months ago. So they might very well have changed since then. But based on what I read of their specific rules with 3D printed stuff, they don't give an exact percentage, but they allow 3D printed bits. They even allow full 3D printed models, although I think they will try and not let those as much. But they will allow those if you made them yourself. They don't want third party. That's the big problem.
That's the issue. Sometimes third party actually, brings something that, calls people and helps define their army.
Yeah.
And that's why I put it more in a general sense, because I know people who have actually printed themselves, right? The stuff. But they got bits from everywhere. There's Telegram groups where they have all these files and they've printed them out. They try to go to the tournament and they've been banned from it.
Yep.
And so that's why I'm more talking it from that aspect. Because I feel that and I'm not saying like people should print entire armies, but I'm saying, like, for example, if you want to build let's say an exorcist army, right?
Right.
So you can actually, print yourself whatever you need to give that aesthetic right? If you want backpacks that actually have the similar effect, like the flames, for the Templars, and then you have the skulls with the horns, and you start adding all those bits little by little. You start having a miniature where it could basically be just the body is the original thing, and the rest of the things, its arms, its weapons, its backpack, maybe some details are not original. If GW were more like, okay, yeah, you can do it, you want your aesthetic, like in the old days when people would kit bash things and they would even put them in the official codices. Like I remember, I'm talking about 3rd edition, I remember some images from the codices of things that were clearly scratch built. So it's like, if they went a bit back to that mentality, I feel it would be good for the hobby as a whole.
I would most certainly agree. And the thing is, I think they don't realize this, but because they're pushing more and more against 3D printing, which the mentality you can kind of understand, their biggest profit maker is the miniatures. Is the game. Like they sell those for exorbitant amount of prices, and lots of people are addicted to buying the latest plastic crack. That's their biggest profit margin, and 3D printing is a massive threat to their bottom line, and it's looking to be a massive threat to their top of the line. So they're scared. So they're reacting to that, and instead of trying to embrace it in a creative way and adapting to it, they're pushing back against it. But because they're pushing back against it so aggressively, and so again, not actually physically violently, but like copyright-wise, violently, they're actually creating more desire for it, because now people who, if the company was more respectful about it, would just be like, okay, I don't really want to put the effort in to 3D print my own stuff. I'll just buy GW official, and buy some bits through third party. But because they see GW acting this way, they galvanize them to feel attacked. They make normal hobbyists feel on the back foot and feel like, oh my god, they're hitting back against us unfairly. I don't like that. So I'm going to buy a 3D printer, learn how to use it just to spite them. So they're actually creating their worst case scenario by fighting so hard against it. To quote a decent Disney movie, it's not an exact quote because I can't remember the exact quote, but in Kung Fu Panda, the turtle sensei basically says, often one finds his way to his worst nightmare on his road to avoid it. Something like that. That's basically what GW is doing. And I know, Disney movie reference, cringe, but I think it's fair here.
It applies. But I was going to say, because, for example, as I said in the chat, I got the Horus Heresy box. I ordered it from the UK, right? I have an address so I can send stuff there and then bring it to Peru, because I live in Peru. Because
Awesome.
you gotta imagine, if I order from Games Workshop in the rest of the world section, how much they gouge in prices from me.
Probably quite a bit. I mean, are you guys worse or better in terms of that than Australia? Because I know Australia usually have some of the worst conversions in terms of pricing.
No. We're still ahead of Australia and New Zealand, thank God.
Good.
But I mean, the sole fact is, once I did the math, even the shipping cost, it made more sense for me to buy it directly from the UK and then get it shipped directly from the UK to here through the service, right?
Right.
Than going directly to Games Workshop and buying it from them. Because it's for me, it's a bit expensive, and most of my friends here, they don't have the resources to really go through the hobby. Like, even though they love the lore or they love the game and the miniatures, right? They don't have the funding to necessarily have a 100% legit army. So we gotta be creative.
Right.
And that's part of the reason why I say 3D in the whole GW killing it. And the other part is, I feel, is more of the fact that GW should be more taking from the lore and putting it back into the game. And what do I mean? I was a kid. I was 10 when I started Horus Heresy. Now I'm 32. I mean, not Horus Heresy. I mean, Warhammer. And I started with my Black Templars in 3rd edition. That big, massive starter box with the terrain, the Dark Eldar, and the Space Marines.
Nice.
And
I started in 6th edition. I was about 13. I was 12 or 13. I'm 22 now.
Man 6. The I always call it the lost generation.
It feels like it. A lot of people forget about us, like middle joining people. Yeah.
Yeah, but and what I'm saying is like, do you remember before in other editions, like even from 6, 7, there was more options you could personalize your characters or even your standard Marines with.
Oh yeah,
You weren't just
there was much more.
limited to the options in the box necessarily, but you can also. I mean, there's even stories I've heard from a friend who played second edition where he told me that, for example, I could arm a sergeant with bionics, a captain also with bionics, and other wacky things to play. Sort of how Horus Heresy was before the new edition. You still have that sub-level personalization, but still, it's like in 40K, it's like you buy the box, and what's in the box is what you can use. And in rules, they don't give us stuff, even though, like, in the lore, there's things that say, they could do this stuff, or they would do these tactics, and you could make incredible kit bash of a character with the older rules, where you could give them so many stuff and give them more personality. But now, since it's all limited to, it's what on the sprue is exactly what's in the book. Sort of kills creativity.
I won't say it kills it. It restricts it for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen some really creative things off the back of I will say this: it hurts not to see like more kit bashes and stuff experimented with in codexes and things like that to give people the juices flowing. But to be fair, I would say the community kind of makes up for that. Like if you go on YouTube, you watch someone like Midwinter Minis who recently did a really cool kit bash where he took he took a Hulk action figure, sawed off the arms and shit, and glued it to a tank. Used some green stuff to sculpt out some tendrils and shit, and made a Nurgle mutated tank. I recommend everybody check that out if you ever need inspiration to fucking kit bash. There are some nutty things that people still. It is unfortunate that GW themselves aren't really doing that anymore, because now again the legalese, the copyright, that whole shtick, the legal team at GW has a lot more power than they did, like, let's say in the 90s, the 80s, or even the early 2000s. So they're like, okay, we only can use this stuff. If we use anything else, that makes us look bad.
Yeah, but I mean, even I'm not saying like GW should limit them, like they should not, like go all the way to throw everything to the wall and just grab from any different kit. I'm saying like they could still limit it to the GW stuff, right?
Yeah. Right.
But still, like, put in the White Dwarf, like promote people to make their own kit bashes and send the pictures and put them in White Dwarf, because somebody can make a guard force that is clearly, Empire forces that he just put las guns on them to make them like a medieval world or night world troops.
Yeah, and
right?
I would throw this in there. If they're going to continue to double down or triple down or whatever multiplier we're down on for Warhammer Plus, maybe start a show that's just about, like, maybe some of their heavy metal team that does all the promo painted minis and stuff. Maybe have them sit down, like at a couch or something, and look at submitted pictures of people's minis, and do like a community show where they just review it and be like, oh, that's a cool painting job. Like, here's like how we would have done it if we were asked to do this for the, like, just if they were to, again, this is the idea, if they continue to push that service, that would make it a more attractive if there was another community element to it, because that's a big thing that has hurt GW over the years, and it kind of harkens back to like the core of what you're saying is, GW has really cemented this divider between us and them. When it was a little, like, there's always been that divider, but there's also been elements of it that felt a little bit more faded than it does now. Like just something as simple as the fact that they don't kit bash in their like White Dwarf entries anymore, and in the codexes they don't showcase any like great creativity anymore with that stuff. It's stuff like that does feel that does make us feel more separated from them separated from them more than ever, and makes people bitter. You know, it makes people. How do I put this? It's kind of this. You want the illusion, because let's be honest, no company on Earth, period, it actually cares about its audience like on a personal level. A company is a immoral mass that is only about making money. That is always going to be the case for any company with any level of for-profit venture. That's how it's always going to be. But I do think that companies that are in creative fields like this should at least make an attempt at the illusion that the community and them can be friends. Again, we all know logically it's an illusion, but they still make efforts to include us, to make us feel valued as customers, feel valued as a community that supports their product. Even if it's total bullshit, like they don't like none of them mean a damn word of it when they thank the audience and thank the community. It's the effort that sometimes it makes all the difference. Just simply being willing to bite your tongue and thank your customers for buying your product, for painting minis, for attending your tournaments. Even if it's hollow, it's still something. But the fact that at this current moment we have virtually nothing like that, like even the live streams they host on like Twitch and stuff for like announcements and crap, they don't interact with fucking chat.
I mean, only when they do the new announcements, right? Sometimes I can't remember the ball guy's name, right? He actually reads the chat, but he doesn't like textually say it, but he reacts to what they're saying when he sees something that excites him just before the announcement. Because,
he cherry picks it, though.
Yeah, I know he cherry picks, but at least he does something, you know, not like the other ones.
Oh, and also you can only chat in their chat if you're a subscriber, which on YouTube, I know that doesn't mean anything, but it's like the equivalent of a membership on YouTube. You pay.
Yeah.
Like you pay money.
Yeah,
to
it's because
subscribe to them.
they want to filter because they know they leave it open. There's gonna be the trolls, and they don't know how to react to it. Instead of going with the punches.
Yeah, absolutely. You're 100% right on it. Again, there's this clear line that's drawn in the sand. That's you. You're the plebeians that buy our shit, and this is us. And they don't even pretend there isn't a line. And quite frankly, it would make a world of difference if they just simply pretended there wasn't a line. Even if on the inside they're like, oh, I fucking hate these fucking pay pig bitches. The fact it's basic customer service, right? Like I work in retail. You know how many times I've wanted to tell a customer to go fuck themselves? Especially when they come up to me and I'm holding like 80 pounds worth of kitty litter and they're like, hey, can you like help me with this thing? And I'm trying not to fall off a ladder. I have to swallow my anger and frustration that they don't give a shit that I'm in the middle of a precarious position and say, yes, ma'am, of course, I'll be happy to help you. Yeah. I have to swallow my pride and do that because it's basic customer service. You learn that at 15 working any retail job. You can, like, they need to put the effort in to do that because that's another thing. Again, they're because of the divide in the sand that they've drawn, they're creating animosity, and animosity breeds people like me, who are creating their own hobbies. I'm creating Warglaive Gothic, and there are other people who have probably been inspired to do something similar by this point. One-page rules is a thing, for example. Yeah. And that was birthed off of just simply not liking how the game played. Like, one-page rules isn't even led by a guy who hates GW. He just didn't like how the game played. And he created his own thing. I actually am getting genuinely angry with them. That's why I'm so motivated with mine. Plus, I have a creative idea that I truly love. You know, those two are a great combination when you're trying to come up with stuff.
In my case, like, for example, I love 40k since I was 10. Okay, but for the first time in my life, I've said I'm quitting 40k. Not 100%, you know. I have my Templars, but my Imperial Fists, I sold them, all the Primaris, I sold them to a friend. I'm dedicated now to 100% to Horus Heresy because it's much more niche. It's much more Kid Bash friendly. I actually have a community that can grow here and make it a bit more happier, right?
Right.
There's not so much of that competitive spirit like in 40K that right now it has completely crushed my spirit for playing the game as a whole in 40K.
I can't blame you. I can't blame you at all on that one.
I mean, and still, it's like, and like in Horus Heresy, I'm having fun because I've sent to print out a buttload of miniatures. Like, I have a lot of original stuff, but I've also been like sending things out because there's certain things in aesthetics that GW doesn't print. You know,
Right.
like skulls on chains already instead of me having to put them on the damn chain.
Yeah. Real quick,
You know,
I'll share in topic related, but yeah, I've been painting my own Horus Heresy army lately, and
I put my
I got rid of a lot of.
Abaddon in.
Yeah, I actually see that, by the way. That's really cool. I like that. Is that custom or what?
It's an SDL I found in Telegram, and he's much bigger than the original one because I have an original one. Well, it's a recast a friend of mine gave to me, right?
Right.
I took the top mat out and we painted him, you know, green to be a Praetor with who can be a Lightning Claw or Power Fist Praetor. And then I found this one, which was massive as a mini, and I'm like, oh, this is a better Abaddon.
It looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I've been seeing some of your streams where you've been playing the Blood Angels. It's like, oh, damn you. I love that red.
It's a bright red. I like it. I think they are a bit clean. I've been criticized for that. I do like painting my minis a bit clean. I might do some weathering on them when I finish the whole squad, but I like the clean paint for right now.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest. I prefer them to remain clean depending on the Legion, right?
Right.
Because, like, for example, Sons of Horus, I feel they have to be dirty, but meanwhile, my Imperial Fist, I try to keep them as clean as possible.
Yeah, I get that.
Because the whole idea is that the Sons of Horus, they're a bunch of, at the end, they're from Cathonia. They're a bunch of gangers, so they don't have as much of that mentality of aesthetics, right?
Right.
Well, Imperial Fist, they do have that, but not because they believe in it, but more as an idea of discipline.
Right. And the Blood Angels and the Emperor's Children both believe in it because they are a bit regal. They're a bit noble.
Yes.
So they would value the nobility of having one's armor be more clean.
Exactly. So I that's why I feel that if like yours is like a beautiful paint job is because it's like it emanates what the Legion is, and that's why I also like what angers me about Games Workshop is like they have an Instagram, right? People actually tag them, and they usually end up ignored, even though there's these incredible paint jobs I've seen people do that they just don't even mention.
Yeah. And it's frustrating. And again, the more that they continue to solidify this divide between us and them, the more that they're going to have people hate them. And not even for, again, the reasons someone like myself has been hating them, which is because they've been spitting at the audience, getting a bit political here and there, and getting involved in shit that they shouldn't because they're a fucking company, a soul-sucking company that has been honest about their soul-sucking for years. But also because, you know, they continue to price gouge, they continue to do all this shady shit in the background. I mean, what they did with the animators, just sniping them left and right. It's just, the thing is, their nefariousness goes a little bit past, like, standard corporate greed and, yeah, stuff you'd expect from a company that values its capitalistic nature. They go an extra mile that makes them feel malicious. And I think a part of that, not just a part of it, but a huge aspect of it is felt with that divide, again, that they continue to reinforce between us and them. And if they continue to do it, they are inviting destruction upon their company. Because the thing is, a normie can ignore a lot of the shit that some of my audience and myself won't ignore, like the political BS and the statements, like, we disavow this. A normie can ignore all that easily. But a normie won't ignore the price gouging and won't ignore them continuing to not address them and not recognize them as a valued customer. Yeah,
because just a quick example I can give you about the whole price gouging thing, right? A friend of mine, he plays Age of Sigmar, and he plays one of the Great Faction of the Dead.
This will have to be our last example little thing though, because I do got two other people winning. But
yeah, no worries. No, just to say that when he was checking out skeletons, right? There's at least another 3 companies that produce plastic skeletons that could work for the game. And the prices were about between a quarter to 40% of what Games Workshops are, and you get even more skeletons than what you get from the box in GW's case. That's, I think, also a problem that most people will be mentioning, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a constant issue, and it's like a pack of 5 fucking Cadian guardsmen is like what, $10?
The easy to build, yeah.
Yeah, the easy to build snap ones, like those are fucking $10. That's $2 a mini of throwaway units in an army.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. Especially since they're made out of plastic molds. Like, plastic is much cheaper than their old metal molds. But yeah, I got the 2 other people waiting, so I'm going to bring them in.
Yeah,
but
no
thank
worries.
you for the conversation, Diego. Much appreciated.
Yeah. Thank you for doing this, and have a good evening.
Yep. You as well. Alright. Afiel. Oh, he didn't drag in for some reason. Drop. There we go. Afiel, welcome.
Hi.
How are you today?
A bit better because the heat is going down.
Yeah, heat's going up here.
We had like, what was it, 83 degrees
Oh,
or
jeez.
something like that. It was just dying and heat and laying in some corner and just waiting for the sun to go down.
Yeah. I feel like you want to turn to Gollum for a day. It's just like, I want to crawl into a dark, wet, cold hole. Dude, want to leave.
Disappear. No, there's actually, for the daily topic, there are several points that I actually have for what GW could do to improve. Like one of my most personal, my most important points is sell plastic to me and stop talking about politics and virtue signaling. That's like one of my most important points.
I would
don't
agree with
care
that entirely.
I don't care what a company thinks. Just shut the fuck up and give me plastic.
I mean, yeah, you're like I said, like in the previous call, they're an immoral capitalistic company. Don't pretend, don't bullshit me otherwise. Bullshit me with customer service. Like, treat me like a valued customer. I buy your shit. But don't, like, try and pretend to me like you're more than a company. You're more than a production assembly line for shit that I want.
Yeah, it's to be honest, most like political systems or companies aren't moral, so they should just shut the fuck up.
I know, like they it's always so weird how like grandiose they get about this shit when they have the biggest skeletons in their closet for this same crap. It's like just shut up. Like you are the most guilty of all this crap.
The guy from that one tournament, it was on the same level as Warhammer is for everyone, at least, but Warhammer is for everyone only if you're filthy rich.
Yep, that's how it's always been.
And the next thing is for GW, what would improve the company is ditch all the wokies and the Twitter fanboys in the company. And stop listening to social media most of the times, because most of the time stuff from social media is a big pile of salt most of the time.
Most of the time, yeah. I will, I guess, compliment is the word I'll use. I'll compliment GW in the sense that they don't seem to let like social media or Twitterites define much of their behavior. The most we've seen that affect them is with like the Warhammer is for everyone bullshit, and also that reaction to the guy in Spain. Like
Honest,
that's the most effect we see, but that it hasn't affected their pricing. It hasn't.
The community team is most of the time a team of massive bullshittery, because last weekend there was this like you could buy the Devastation of Bar Collector's Edition, and my girlfriend wanted to buy it for me as a birthday present, and she logged on the homepage like 5 minutes before it started. The site crashed, and then everything was gone, and like 1 hour later you can check on eBay and you see the book for like the triple the price and stuff like that already, like a pre-sale. And that's the thing, and I said this on Twitter to Games Workshop on the Warhammer community, and they blocked me.
Yep. Again, they're solidifying that divide, and they're doing it in the worst ways possible.
Yeah, then there's like what GW should make is improve the not like
You know, I'm sorry to interject, but you know, I do make a solid effort to avoid advertising my own stuff, but I don't mean this as just an advertisement for Warglaive, but also as again, like I treat like my own product I'm working on right now, and I have no doubt in my mind I'm gonna get like customers that aren't gonna be happy with the products. They're gonna have issues. They're gonna complain. Some of them aren't gonna complain like rational human beings. I get why some companies like GW like to create this dividing line and like to make it very clear that they're not very interested in communication. They're not very interested in sociability. But like that example just there, like you just tried to communicate with them, like, hey, like there's this fuck up and we would like it fixed, and they block you.
Yeah, but to be honest, if they want no divide between the community and the company, then they just shut the fuck up about all the Twitter wokies.
Yeah, and I personally won't shut up about politics, but I certainly won't like through Scarlet Games, my studio, and my company. Like I'm not gonna talk through that to try and virtue signal to people about my politics. Like I might share my personal opinion on something, but I just don't get this mentality, I suppose. And the thing is, I'm not trying to sit here and say like I'm better than everybody at Games Workshop, and I'm gonna like be like this great angel. So come support me and my company in Warglaive. But I'm not gonna preach to any of you. Like when Warglaive is about Warglaive, like every post on social media, once Warglaive is up and running and first edition is running, is gonna be about. If the rules aren't being well received, I'm going to be about fixing up the rules, refining them. If the miniatures aren't satisfactory, updating the designs, getting refunds out to people who were particularly offended by them, etc., etc. It's going to be about the game. It's going to be about the company. It's going to be about the product. And it's also like for the people who paint their very first Warglaive minis and they want to share them with me, I'll share them on the main account. Like I'm gonna keep it focused on the hobby, focused on the universe, and I'm not gonna bring up anything unrelated to it. And I'm also not gonna pretend I'm an angel, like offering you guys some kind of fucking gift from God. Like no, it's a product. You know, I am a businessman as much as I am an artist, and I am as a storyteller. But again, like, this is gonna be no bullshit. Like it's just straight, honest. And I just don't get why companies nowadays have completely lost this. Like, I learned these basic tenets of running a business and customer service as a 13-year-old in my first retail job. And these people don't know this at, like, in some cases, the CEOs are, like, what, 60, 70 years old? And you haven't fucking learned rule number 1. Don't take sides. Because you lose audiences.
I don't get why so many companies these days are like companies that are actively participating in capitalism are like promoting some super radical leaning communistic like groups where I think about like what the fuck, unlike communistic guys that want to eradicate you. And that's just the logic boogaloo that I don't get.
Yeah, it's I hate to call it anything else short of insanity. Like, I can't think of any reason they do it other than they just have no control over whoever controls these accounts. Like
most of the time it's HR and social media teams and they are like running amok and
yeah, like there's no oversight on these crews. Like no CEO, CFO is giving any okays for these blocks, is giving any okays for these behaviors or these responses to certain things. They're just letting them do their thing, and all the while making their company look really bad, which, to be fair, they probably don't care too much about. But and just hurting customer loyalty. Like, they are a company that has solely survived, especially due to the miniatures, has solely survived off of the back of fan loyalty. And they don't value it at all.
To be honest, the guy you and I both like said in one stream was, how was it? I never thought that George Orwell's book will be a guideline for the future, not like something that would shock people and would stop them or prevent them from doing stupid shit.
Yeah, exactly. It's become a literal fucking tutorial.
Yeah, wait a second, wait like 5 or 10 years and you get Soylent Green.
I mean,
Or like-
we already have like ministries of truth starting to formulate in places like America, so we're getting.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But back to the topic, there are some stuff that I really hate with GW because the creativity has suffered because of the box and the kit sets they removed. When you think about, like, you had a Blood Angels tactical squad, and in that squad you had, like, what was it, Mark 3? No, Mark 4, Mark 4, 5, 6, and Mark 7 armor, like leg pieces, chest pieces, and helmets and stuff like that. And you could wonderfully use them for Horus Heresy, especially the Maximus armor and the Corvus armor pattern. And they removed it completely. That's one thing that I really hated, because it was just like a gigantic Blood Angels kit bashing box. And at the same level, this mentality with we bring to the codex only what you can buy in one box. And when I think about it, I had, for my Blood Angels, I had a command squad that was running around with jump packs, and that's now Legend rules, and Legend rules is completely useless.
Yep. Unfortunately, but yeah, you're entirely right. It is completely useless.
For the gameplay aspect, I would say get armor penetration to the level back how it was in Horus Heresy or 7th edition, because this -5, 4 nowadays in 40k is only who has the biggest armor penetration.
Yep.
None
I mean that's how it is with like the 1K tournament I played this past Sunday. My best performing units in my orc army were the ones that had the highest AP.
Yep.
Like my orcs, my war boss's Dakilla Claw had a -4 AP, and I was slaughtering everything. I destroyed an Imperial Knight.
Killer Claw is the best claw.
It is like fucking. I wrecked an Imperial Knight 1v1 war boss. with
Yeah, that's because orc tactics are the best.
Yeah, it is. It was a fun game.
Dawn of War 3 was one of the most horrid games I ever played. But this one part where the orc boss said, "We need to get to the door." "Yeah, boss, you need to hack the console." Then the boss took a big chopper and hacked the console in pieces, and then the door opened.
Belief. It is a powerful
Yeah.
thing.
And also for the gameplay, less mortal wound spamming, because the last tournament I was who has the biggest armor penetration and who can spam the most mortal wounds.
I fucking hate mortal wounds.
Yeah.
Like, too many things have them, I think, is the big problem.
Just imagine, I play mostly Firstborn Marines because I still hate the Parameris lore, and I always hate it because
I can't blame you.
I improved the Emperor guy, Merisu character, made the Emperor's work better, and I killed an entire squad of Chaos Space Marine Terminators in one charge with my Assault Marines, because I used the stratagem every time I charge I can roll, and then I make some like tackle move with a jump pack. And I rolled like, what was it? First it was 8 mortal wounds, and then the Assault Marines just bashed in with chainswords and Power Fist. I mean, it was funny at the moment, but I hate stuff like that.
Yeah, it's frustrating. I think that's why the Horus Heresy Mark II looks so cool, because they're bringing back a lot of the less frustrating elements, like from 6th and 7th edition, it seems.
Yes.
So yeah, that's why like a lot of people like you and I and Ball and some of the other people on like my server, basically the old guard fans that miss how the game used to feel and play are super excited for the Horus Heresy Mark II.
Yeah, and if you watch me play 40k, I still try to align my tank in a firing position. Yeah, and also for GW, reduce the prices. When you say Warhammer is for everyone, then make it inclusive and not fake inclusive.
Yeah, not like inclusivity in this case is lowering prices, refining the gameplay, and again customer service. Like actual.
Is it in your country too that you have like this Warhammer Club thing?
What?
there's in my local GW the boss of the store is a really nice guy, and he's most of the time the more relaxed kind of guy.
Yeah, that's why I like my local hobby store. That's the one I play my tournaments at. They're trying to become a GW official tournament hoster, which I won't tell them this, but I hope, like, I'm whispering under my breath every time they say that. I'm like, I really hope you don't, because right now they're super like lax and they let a lot of shit go. Like, I have a 3D printed, like, my war boss in my army is 3D printed entirely, and they're like, I don't care.
And it's just now and there's like this little like card booklets, and it's like for school classes, so they can make a Warhammer club, and so they can meet after school and play Warhammer in a safe environment and stuff like that. And I thought it's a nice idea, but when I was in school, I could buy, like, because I had to work besides school, and I could afford like one miniature at a time, stuff like that, because back then almost all the miniatures in my country that were available were only blisters. There were no boxes, so you could only buy like one blister for the money you got. So, and it's still not that available, so school class clubs, nice idea.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't even work because they removed most of the easy to build miniatures.
Yeah, it's...
Yeah, and I don't want any more lore bullshittery.
Yeah. I would
Because
say
when
all
people
real
are-
fans agree with this one.
When people say, like, why are you so offended by the lore, I would say, girly man and his girly friend, Elder waifu. And they said, yeah, but it wasn't that bad. And I said, did you read Gathering Storm? I only kept the book because I want, and then I can show it to friends so they can read that.
The only reason I have not burnt this is so I have proof it existed.
Yeah, a little bit like that. And I said then, if they do stuff like that, then the next time it will happen this. The Silent King returns, comes to Baal, brings back Sanguinius soul pieces. Arcan Land returns, and together they do some Chrono Boogaloo do that shit, and Sanguinius returns with an Bee of Teleso 2.0 Necron Boogaloo buff.
Yeah, it's...
And it's so much bullshit, and I actually would see GW do that.
Yeah, the thing is, at this point, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. I genuinely hope they'll never concede to the female Space Marine thing, because it's absolutely ridiculous. It's absolutely absurd.
I mean, GW, I will send you something in a DM because I don't want it in a like open chat.
Okay.
It's something funny. It was from the official Games Workshop Warhammer community part.
Oh joy. I got one other person waiting in call, man.
I just explain what I mean, and there's this one miniature, and just look at it, and the miniature, they said, oh, this, wow, wonderful, cool, wow, stuff, and actually the miniature has a third-party weapon in its hand. And normally JW is like, oh, we have to terminate everyone that is third-party. But actually I found also the homepage for the third party, so you can compare. And it's just plain funny when they're like, oh, cease and desist, and then in that category they promote a miniature that is third party weapon equipped.
They didn't even catch that.
No.
Oh my god.
I thought you would find it funny.
That is funny, actually.
So
Fucking morons.
I will disappear again because I play hired gun a little bit.
Alright.
I get into the groove for Darktide.
Hopefully Darktide will be more optimized than Hired Gun. Hired Gun's still a GPU hog.
Yeah, but it's fun.
No, it's absolutely fun. That's the thing. It's a great, amazing game, and I would put it as one... Automatically, I would put it as one of the top, like, 3 or 4 40k games ever. But it... Not for streaming.
No, I had a jump scare like 10 minutes ago because there was a Gene Stealer running around. It was oh fuck.
Yeah. I will have fun, man. Thank you for coming on.
Maybe we see each other in Darktide next time.
Maybe. I know that I already got a couple reserved spots for when that launches of people who want to play it with me, but that's only 2. So we're gonna need a third person to fill out the 4th slot, but first come first serve on that one. But thank you.
Okay. And next time I see something funny on the community page, I'll just send it to you.
Yep, go ahead.
See ya.
Yep. Blast Gunman, you're my last caller for the day. How you doing? Are you on Android? You're on Android, aren't you? Okay, we'll do what we did earlier. I'll give you the host role temporarily, so you can leave the call and rejoin it. So yeah, just hang up the call, rejoin the call. Cause yeah, it's the Android glitch. Discord doesn't like Android. So yeah, you're gonna need to hang up and rejoin the call. Because for some reason, when you drag people into calls and they're on Android, it just doesn't use your mic for whatever reason. So you gotta rejoin the call.
Hello?
Yep, I can hear you.
All right. This always happens whenever I try to jump in.
It's because you're on Android. Android. I'm assuming that's your phone.
Yeah.
Android and Discord don't mix very well, unfortunately. When you get dragged into calls and you're using an Android device, for some reason, whatever call you get dragged into, you can't use your mic for whatever reason. My best guess is the hardware on an Android is designed to, if it detects, you be like your signal being changed drastically like that, it detects it as maybe you're getting hijacked, so it mutes your mic so someone can't nefariously use it for whatever reason.
Yeah,
that's my best guess.
Yeah, it prevents deliverance from being heard.
Yes. So.
No way.
All right. So on the topic, so what changes would you like to see made to 40K?
Well, they surprisingly enough, they made some of them. They fired all the playtesters.
They did?
Yeah.
I missed that.
Yeah, they cut off all the playtesters, and they're rewriting the contracts from what I hear.
Good. Whoever they had before sucked.
Yeah. A lot of them were sycophants, and they leaked all the stuff. Supposedly that's why they got fired, not because of the rule shit, but because of all the leaks.
I think they should have gotten fired for the rule shit personally, but I guess that's me.
Well, that goes to the second problem. Their company culture is full of sycophants and I'm trying to find a polite way to say this. Yes men. If anything sounds wrong about something, they try to spin it into something good.
I have the perfect word. I have the word you were looking for. Pussies.
Okay, I don't know how strong of language I'm allowed to use here, so...
no gamer words, that's it.
Alright, kiss ass. They're all kiss asses.
There you go.
Yeah, if anything bad shows up, they have to spin it in a positive way. So... And that's personally why I think the game testers were the worst part. You have someone who loves their faction, I'm going to downplay the rules, so they have to buff them up. That's a faction I don't like, I'm going to say it's too bad. It's awful, I can't play against this. The rules are too cumbersome, they're too annoying.
Yeah. The thing is, their playtesters are... It's kind of like their writers at this point. It's like whatever they're biased towards, they're going to cause to be the best. Thing is, GW are going to do that to a degree anyway, because whenever something isn't selling well, they just improve its rules temporarily, just so it sells.
The problem is, this is from the ground up. This is from the foundation of a codex, not the hatchwork.
Yeah.
Which goes into my second thing. They need to stop making so many goddamn books.
When you say books, do you mean lore or codexes?
Codexes. Lore books, I'm fine with. Create another event thing to fix what they did previously.
I'm of the opinion that they codexes should only be released when they're 100% sure those are the final rules. I'm tired of the FAQ bullshit.
I agree. The only FAQ they should do is the points.
Yeah, if they want to do FAQ stuff and switch stuff up and change stuff that comes out in that from what comes out in the codex, stop selling the codexes for money.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to sell the codexes for money, you're selling me, assumedly, a complete product. If that product has fundamental changes in its data sheets and its rules, the week following its fucking release, bullshit.
Yeah.
It's a worse version of video game developers releasing a game in early access but selling it for $60 fucking.
Not only that, you're competing against other codexes. The next codex is guaranteed to beat yours.
Yep.
And that just I mean, I play Guard. You could just feel how painful it is.
Yes. I don't play Guard anymore.
Yeah. And that's kind of the reason why I stopped buying a lot of stuff. And my local game store stopped he stopped playing a lot of Guard. He's focusing on other games, like Legion and all that.
My local game store, they have a whole new display of bolt action.
Yeah, that's why I'm seeing a lot of stores are starting to diversify because they're realizing Games Workshop is no longer a stable one-note thing to buy into.
I'd say it's a mix. Like they see the pendulum coming the other way, and they see that things are swinging, so they want to make sure that they have a product for when people finally get fed up with GW. But they still want to keep selling GW for right now because it does still sell, just not as well as it used to.
Yeah, fair. The only thing I see them actually doing a lot of good work on is the paints and the hobby material. Yeah. Which I think that's what Games Workshop is going to lean into. They're going to give up on the models and focus on the hobby.
I don't know about that. Maybe I might agree with you if we're talking like a much longer term, like more years in the future.
I'm talking like 10 years. That's a 10-year plan, not the immediate 2-3 year thing.
Maybe 10 years, I can agree with that, but within a 5-year range, I see them still focusing on minis. No matter what, I don't think they're ever going to stop selling minis wholesale until it becomes a wholesale non-profit.
Pretty much.
Which I think is more than 10 years down the road.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to see them stop. They're going to stop selling simple models like infantry and stuff and focus on bigger stuff. That's my opinion. That's my vague guess. Because if 3D printers continue advancing at the rate they are, I'm in the sticks. I don't need a lot of space for one. All I need is a good internet connection, and if I can put that on a flash drive, I can just go to a library and download it.
Yep.
So Games Workshop sees the writing on the wall, but they don't know how to handle it.
Oh no. The people at the very top of the company that make decisions around those kinds of things, they're old school. They've been riding the cash cow of Games Workshop for so long. I think they genuinely have no idea how to handle it, other than just try their best to pull out the lawyers where they can. But the thing is,
honestly, I think they're trying to sell.
They very well might be. That's a popular theory, and I'm not. I'm kind of on that. I don't know if they're going to succeed, though.
No, I don't think they will, because who they're eyeing to sell to, Hasbro, I don't think they want to buy anything. They're dealing with their own chickens that are running around.
Oh yeah, the Hasbro
like, Wizards right now
the Disney of toys.
Oh yeah, like Wizards right now is just they're stumbling into success with everything they have, and their other toy lines aren't doing well.
Nope.
Like Transformers is dying, and that used to be a cash cow.
Oh yeah, that definitely used to be a cash cow. And lots of things that used to be really, really good are failing. And the thing is, there's this misconception in these companies and in like the social sphere as a whole is because, oh, well, people just don't like that stuff anymore, or we've moved past it. I don't think so. Do you know about Rippaverse Comics?
Is that the one where they're holding $1 million because
yeah, PayPal is
PayPal
is holding a
scam
third
or something?
We don't know why yet. To give them the benefit of the doubt, it does look a bit suspicious when
I mean, if you get $1 million within a 2-month span, yeah.
No, not even 2 months. It's 3 days.
Oh yeah, 3 days. Yeah, I'd say that someone buying a lot of cocaine.
3 days. They were like, okay. So to give them the benefit of the doubt, I think anyone would agree that looks suspicious as fuck.
Oh,
But
yeah.
he has called them, though, at this point. He made an update video, and they said, oh yeah, we're looking into it. We're going to hold on to it for now. He's already explained
anyone
himself,
you call,
so...
You will not get any help from anyone who you call. They have to call
Oh,
you.
yeah. Ripa made it clear he's going to pull out the lawyers next, and according to
Oh, yeah,
him...
because $1 million is enough to fight over.
Oh, yeah. That's worth fighting over. Absolutely. And if he wins, he gets even more money, because then they owe him...
If he's smart, he'd basically turn it into class action and have everyone who's donated through PayPal claim that they have hindered the process of business.
Oh no, and I'm one of them. I used PayPal to pay for my pre-orders for ISOM, and I spent $120.
Must be a
And
good comic then.
I want it to be. I don't know yet, but I do want to support But anyway, to try and keep it on topic, the reason I bring that up is, in 3 to 4 days, because the whole pre-order campaign is 70 days, and we're on day like 59 or something like that. So we're about 2 weeks in. It's already made $3 million, and $1 million of it is being held by PayPal. But regardless, that is still money he will eventually get in some way, shape, or form. So $3 million for what a lot of the mainstream media and a lot of the comics book professional companies like Marvel and DC have been saying for years. They're like, oh, well, people just don't like comics anymore. People don't find this entertaining anymore. They don't. The thing is, this is complete bullshit, because radio still exists. Radio shows are still popular, and that's stuff from like the 1920s. So you're telling me comics, which have been thriving for decades since the Second or First World War, suddenly in the last 10 to 20 years has just took a nosedive, and they're like, oh, well, that's just because people don't like it anymore. There's other forms of entertainment people find more easily accessible. Bullshit.
Well, I'm gonna dovetail on that one. You're right and wrong. People don't listen to radio on the radio anymore. They listen to podcasts. That's a new version of radio shows.
No, I listen to radio.
I'm just saying, people want easy access to it, and they also want higher quality.
Do you drive?
I drive, yeah. I listen to the radio.
Yeah, so do I. And I would say so do a majority of people who drive. Yeah, some people pull out the aux cord and just play stuff on their phone and stuff. I'd say, and if you have Bluetooth, you hook up your Bluetooth here, if you have a newer car or stuff. But I'd say
I'm talking about accessibility here.
But even then, but if we do go with what you just said with the podcast, that is still radio.
I know.
That's still the same principle. Like the difference is just what tech you're using for it, but the exact same thing. It's still radio.
I'm just saying radio is easy to get, so is on your computer. I'm saying Marvel and DC are not easy to get anymore. I don't know a comic shop in my area, and I'm in a college town. I don't know a shop I can buy comics from them.
Really? I have a comic shop near me, and I can pick up Marvel, DC.
I can't tell you. And the ones that I do know, they don't do those bin order things where you just say, I want this comic line, just hold them for me and I'll go pick them up. They stopped doing that because people wouldn't pick up their stuff anymore. And that was before they closed down.
Yeah, our shop stopped doing that as well, unfortunately. Yeah, you can't call ahead and say, like, hey, hold these for me. Like, it sucks. But the point I'm trying to make is, there's been that narrative that people have been saying, like, nobody's interested in comics anymore. That's not true at all. The reason, it's the quality. The quality of these things, as long as they're maintained, people will continue to once a form of entertainment is created, it'll always exist. Like with radio, it's evolved into the more podcast form now, where there's a video portion in some podcasts' case, but a lot of them are on Spotify. They're on other services. I know there's another
iTunes, all that.
Yeah, they're on stuff as still in that audio form, like a radio show, and they used to do the sound effects full scale. Like this is a form of entertainment that, as long as we have the technology to produce it, will always exist in some way, shape, or form. And that's the same for comics, novels, movies, video games. Since they've been invented, and as long as we have the technology to maintain them in any capacity, we will always have these things. It's one of the I want to say one of the more heartwarming things about humans is it's kind of like the same mentality behind hoarding something. we don't want to let something go. Even if many
at least it's a little bit healthy.
Yeah, it is the healthy version of it. It's like we want to conserve some of the things that we've created, not just for nostalgia's sake, but because it still has value to us as an entertainment. That being said, Rippaverse is a great example. $3 million in less than 2 weeks. People pre-ordering just one comic and hats and basic merchandise alongside of it because they want quality. These old school forms of entertainment are not losing money because they're old. They're losing money because the quality is dropping, because the company's support behind it is getting more festered with politics. It's stuff like that is causing sales to dive bomb. It's nothing short of that, and if you think otherwise, you're a fool. These companies would be thriving if they did exactly what a lot of people in this very open mic have said numerous times, including myself. If they shut up, stopped involving themselves in politics, and stopped trying to draw lines in the sand, actually acted with any level of customer service and respect to the customers that buy their shit, and they lowered prices to just a slightly bit more to be more inclusive in the right way, they'd be thriving. Like, they just lowered the Start Collecting, the Comet Patrols down to $90 like the Start Collecting boxes were. Yeah, I know that would be a huge drop compared to the $140 they go for now, but
yeah,
3 $90 Combat Patrols sold is still better than one $140 Combat Patrol sold. You still made more money. So
yeah.
it's that concept. It's these things that they can do, and they'll see sales skyrocket. They'll see public interest skyrocket. Again, it all comes down to quality.
I also think they need to maintain their non-store components, their local game stores that they don't own. If they lose those, I'm pretty sure the hobby will just slowly die off within 5 years.
Oh yeah, a lot of what keeps things like this alive, like Dungeons and Dragons, 40K, it's having a community space to go to socialize and interact alongside it. Whether it's tournaments, I'm
finding like hell trying to get a D&D group started at my local game store every Wednesday, and I have to fight through the trudges of idiots and creepy people to get it going. And I have one group, and it's about to split into 2 other groups, and I'm proud to say that.
Yeah, that's good.
There was only one person I had to beat off with a stick after he followed my female friend to her car with her boyfriend right there.
Okay, that's creepy as fuck.
Yeah, the thing was, he wasn't trying to be like a stalker. He was just socially inept enough that he thought it was appropriate to ask, "Hey, where do you live?"
I mean, unpopular opinion, I don't give a shit if you're like. Here's the thing, I have autism. I don't let that be an excuse for making social mistakes. If I make a social mistake, I don't say, sorry, I have autism, you should forgive me. I say, sorry, I fucked up. I'm human, I'm human, I make mistakes. If you can't forgive me, I understand. I don't... not that I'm saying, like, this guy's got that excuse, but I'm sure he has some social...
He does.
Yeah,
he has something social, because I'm autistic, and I noticed that. I am an inept idiot who does not notice singles.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. I'm similar, and it's.
I mean, it saved my life once. Yeah, don't notice the little girl making googly eyes at you. It saves your life. It's a lot of crazy stuff out there.
Oh yeah, world's
they just need to hold on to their communities. The problem is Games Workshop is doing nothing to foster it. I mean, their animations are not happening. The painting videos that they show off once in a while aren't happening. Their little comics are horrible.
Oh yeah, the comic blurbs that they've been coming out with have been god awful. I mean, Marnius Calgar is the only one I've actually read outside of the Sisters of Battle one, and the Sisters of Battle one was good, by the way. Like, that one was actually, like, there was no political BS slipped into it. It was just about SOBs and making them look awesome, and it was a nice contained storyline. That was a good comic. The problem is the goodness of that, in stark contrast to Marnius Calgar's terrible comic.
You mean the Slave Boy?
Yeah, like the Omayo Moshinderu teleportation on a demon engine's shoulder and ripping its head off. Yeah,
The thing
I
is,
believe
I
that.
remember they had good comics, like
Oh yeah, they had good comics, but the thing is, they're going to Marvel. They're going to the big leagues, and the big leagues are controlled by politically obsessed ideologues.
No, I don't think they're controlled. I think they're ran by. That's two different things.
I think they're the
head-
same.
Kinda. Marvel is controlled completely. Disney, I don't think is.
Disney, no.
Marvel is from the
Not
to the
yet.
marrow is crazy.
Yeah.
The only way to get out of it is if you fire everyone and then restart from scratch. And Disney does not want that.
Nope.
I think Disney would sell before they would do that.
One would think. I don't want to make any predictions with that. Like, the world's very crazy.
I know. Just turn on television and you just start bleeding from your eyes.
Oh yeah.
And all I'm watching is Sesame Street.
Yeah. But yeah, we've got down the changes you'd like to see. Seem to be in line with everybody else.
Oh, and they need to also farm out their IP to other companies. I think that would just be a nice thing to start doing again.
I mean, they kind of do that with video games.
I'm not
licensing.
talking about video games. I'm talking about like throw more stuff to that one blank action figure company. I'm blanking what they're called, but my local game store bought like some of them, and they sell pretty well. Do other stuff like farm it out to music bands.
I know they do farm out to a action figure company. To a couple actually.
I know. I'm just saying, start doing that. I've seen it work, and people are happy with it. They just give their kid it, and the kid's happy. But I'm saying, expand to music and books more than just their own stuff. Like, I would pay like $50 or $60 to get a, you know, those old transparent museum books that show like cross sections of tanks.
Yeah.
And stuff. If they did that for like Space Marine vehicles or Imperial Guard vehicles and stuff like that, I'd buy one.
And they kind of do.
I'm saying like one of those dedicated books for it, just like that large coffee table book. Just about all that. But
More
again, that's just-
merchandising.
yeah, and merchandising, Spaceballs, merchandising. Make a flamethrower.
Alright. I don't know. I'm not as invested in that one, so I'll
You don't want a
abstain.
flamethrower?
I mean, if I want a replica like Bolter or something like that, I can 3D print it.
I'm not saying replica. I'm saying actual flamethrower here.
An actual, I have one of
Yeah.
those. I have one of those actually.
Oh. Not the Tesla one, right?
No, it's a homemade flamethrower, but it works.
Just add some styrofoam and oil.
That would probably get burnt. Yeah, thank you for coming on, man. Much appreciated.
All right. Sorry for causing trouble again.
Nah, it's fine.
All right.
Have a good night.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
Bye bye. So I said that was the last call, but Trip is waiting. Hold on. Trip, do you have something quick to say, or? Trip. Yeah, that is why manga is doing so well. Yeah, it's again like there's this weird narrative that people try to push when these old forms of entertainment don't do well. In these past 10 years, they're like oh, it's not doing well because it's old, you know, it's ancient, you know. Nobody wants these things anymore, you know. Nobody likes comics anymore. Nobody likes the old school stuff anymore. It's bullshit. It's complete lies. It's complete lies. Like entertainment, once we created it, we humans, we hoard it. You know, we there's this instinct in our social structure. Sorry, Trip. Oh, I hear him.
Sorry, I was actually at the bathroom just when you got me here.
It's fine. Do you have something quick to say?
Yeah. The
Alright.
As you were kind of saying this new thing of deflecting blame on low sales, like, yeah, Disney's doing this a lot, like, it's just they're all racist, all that, like, you know, their latest Obi-Wan show.
Yeah.
You know, it's like they were really trying to hammer in that, no, people just don't like Reba because they're all racist. It's just racist people.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
Yep, it's essentially a new deflection tactic where.
And yeah, they don't want to recognize what the problem is, because if they acknowledge what it is, the firings start. Because the thing is, right now, the only reason these companies still have so many like woke SJW types heading these projects and heading these things is because these woke SJW types continue to convince the higher ups that care only about money. Don't worry, most people agree with our views, so if we continue to push it, we'll make money. And the higher ups, for some reason, are fucking idiots.
They did. Well, you know what? I actually, unfortunately, posted a long video that posts that. Like, who knows? Maybe you can actually go back to this topic after seeing that video. But I swear that explains just about everything. Long and short of it is, for some reason, they'll never listen to fans because I don't know why.
They don't listen to fans because, again, for these higher-up CEOs to hear the fans from their ivory towers, making millions and millions of dollars, billions of dollars from movie franchises and other IPs and merchandise sales, for them to even hear that, that stuff has to go up the corporate ladder through the woke SJW people that don't want them to hear it.
And you know what? I think another reason is, I think a lot of these woke SJW people are, people who are kind of cheap in comparison. Like, I think that's what a lot of the so-called... No, to hire. I think that's because that's what's happening with the quote-unquote comic writers and artists.
Well, some of them get hired via nepotism. Like someone they have an association with already works in the company and has a foot in the door.
But, oh boy, I can tell you horror stories. Like, there was this comic called America Chavez. And, let's just say the only qualification the writer had was she was a lesbian woman of color, and the only thing the comic ever talked about was that America Chavez was a lesbian woman of color.
Yeah, and that's why people stopped buying that comic, stopped buying related comics. Again, the source of the downfall of these things is not because the entertainment is old or because it's out of fashion or people have lost interest. It's because they've beaten it to death. And of course, here's a hilarious thing about many of the SJWs are really pissed off about Ripa. It's like, no, your comic sakes are racist. What the hell is going on? Like, yeah, maybe it had nothing ever to do with race, you dumb assholes. No, it's the quality of the story. It's the quality of the writing. It's the quality of the art. That's what kills it.
Or at least in that instance, not constantly attacking the fan base.
Yeah, I mean, that's, again, I said it earlier and I'll say it again. Basic customer service is necessary for something to succeed. Because the thing is...
One funny story, like, there's a theory going around is that, you remember that Sonic thing? The Sonic movie?
Yeah.
Like, okay, remember when the original trailer showed up and Sonic's design was
hideous?
Yes. Some people are suggesting, and it could be sensible, is that they did that on purpose. You know, it's like, okay, we heard you. And we're gonna actually fix our things. quick get the actual thing up there on, and not the crappy CGI thing we did to trick them.
And that's
know,
quite that is quite possible.
And it's like it's sad thing. It's like, of course, if that's true, it relies on Stockholm syndrome of you being so happy with the mob boss who breaks 2 fingers when you pay them late.
We're already going a bit long with this talk, man,
Okay.
and I do need to wrap things up.
Oh darn it! Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, sorry. But I do need to wrap things up. But yeah, I get what you're saying, and yeah, I agree with it. It's just they need to focus on quality, not
And
whatever
of course,
they're focusing on right now.
they need to stop just the whole attacking fan strategy. Because come on, it's been like 10 years. It's been 10 to 20 years. It's been shown not to work.
Yeah, and they still don't get that, so they'll figure it out eventually. But by the time they do, usually they overcorrect. But anyway, thank you for coming on, man, and have a good one.
Yep.
All right, so I'm gonna wrap things up here, folks. Thanks so much to everybody who came on, had conversations, shared their perspective. I like doing these open mics. I like hearing from you guys. I'm working on the video right now. Right after this, hopefully it'll be out tomorrow at some point. I got a lot of stuff to do. I gotta get dinner first and foremost. Probably take a shower, and start hammering away at it. Still writing the script for it, so we're still in the early stages, but I'm cracking along. Hopefully it'll be done. It's a lot, but yeah. And wrap it up, yeah. GW. Seriously, just stop being shit for like a day. Learn basic customer service like I did at 13 years old. Anyway, have a great night, all you wonderful, amazing people.